Long before Otukpo rose with its red-earth palaces and moonlit festivals, there was only forest and fire. And in that fire, a woman loved the spirit. Her name was Otukpo, a healer of unmatched beauty. Her laughter carried through the wind, her songs could coax yams from stubborn soil. But Otukpo's heart beat for something otherworldly, something no mortal could contain. Deep in the sacred grove of Owito, she danced with a spirit cloaked in feathers and shadows. The villagers warned her, the elders forbade it, but love, like water, finds its own path. When the gods discovered her secret, they did not weep, they roared. Thunder cracked the sky, crops withered, women miscarried, and when Otukpo gave birth, the child came into the world with one eye wide open and glowing. She is cursed, cried the midwife, fleeing the hut. The child's father was never seen again, swallowed by the spirit realm, and Otukpo, grieving and scorned, named her daughter in. But the curse did not end with her. Each daughter born of Otukpo's line carried the same mark, one eye missing, and the other filled with ancient light. The villagers grew fearful. They whispered of possession, of evil spirits hiding behind that single eye. The family was cast out, forced to live near the edge of Owito, between the world of men and the world of spirits. As generations passed, the tale twisted into legend. Children were warned, beware the one-eyed girl in the woods, for her gaze calls the ancestors, and they do not always answer kindly. Prince Agaba was born under an eclipse. The sky had darkened at noon the moment his first cry rang through the palace walls, and the oracle, Old Akum, had fallen into convulsions beside the royal drum. The people said, it was an omen. Some called it power, others called it warning. But to King Agaba, it meant legacy, and he raised his son with the weight of Otukpo's future heavy on his small shoulders. Agaba grew into a tall, broad-shouldered young man, skin dark like river stone, and eyes sharp like a hawk's. He was trained in the art of war by the fiercest warriors, and in diplomacy by silver-tongued elders. He knew the proverbs of his people like the backs of his hands. Yet even with all the knowledge and might, something stirred inside him, something restless. Each morning, he stood atop the palace tower, watching the forest of Owito shimmer like a sleeping beast. It called to him in dreams, whispers in forgotten tongues, faces he did not know, eyes, watching. The oracle watched him too. Akum had grown old and almost blind, but he still saw what others could not. One night, during a quiet divination beneath the sacred Iroko tree, he saw flames devouring Otukpo. At the center stood Agaba, holding the hand of a woman with one eye. A prince walks beside a spirit, the oracle gasped, falling backward in terror, and fire follows his footsteps. He rushed to the palace at dawn, beads clinking, voice shaking. The curse stirs. The eye has returned, but King Agaba dismissed him. You speak in riddles, old man. My son is destined for greatness, not ghosts. Still, the oracle warned once more, the forest watches, and soon, it will reach for your son. Agaba, unaware of the storm to come, simply stared at the trees. The palace of Otukpo was a marvel, its high walls painted with scenes of war and harvest, its courtyards echoing with drum beats and laughter. The scent of roasted plantains, palm wine, and burning incense floated through the air. Visitors from distant villages brought gifts to King Agaba, hoping for favor or trade. Chiefs gathered in shaded halls, plotting alliances, marriages, and legacy. And yet, within these grand walls, Prince Agaba felt confined. His days were filled with duties, training, listening to advisors, inspecting warriors, studying treaties. His nights were colder. Though he was praised as a warrior, his heart yearned for something no war could bring. He dreamed not of thrones but of peace, not of power, but of meaning. His mother, Queen Odiyu, often joined him in the royal gardens. You look to the trees too much, she said one evening, her voice soft as kola butter. You are a prince, Agaba. A kingdom will soon rest on your shoulders. I know, Mama, he replied, but sometimes, I wonder what else is out there, beyond duty, beyond the crown. She touched his cheek gently. Your father loves this land with all his might, but love takes many shapes. What shape does your heart know? Agaba had no answer, only dreams. That night, while walking the palace halls, he overheard the chiefs talking about marriage. Daughters of highborn men were already being offered. One chief promised land, another, gold, but none of them knew him. None of them saw him. He slipped away, climbing to the rooftop, where the wind blew freer. The forest of Owito stretched in the distance, black and mysterious under the moon. It was there, in that shadowed line between light and dark, that Agaba felt most alive. He didn't know her name yet. He didn't know her story, but the wind carried it, and his soul listened. The forest of Owito was not like other forests. It breathed. To the people of Otukpo, Owito was sacred, a place of secrets, of spirits, and of silence. Hunters treaded carefully within its boundaries, speaking in hushed tones and pouring libations before every journey. Elders warned children never to wander too deep. It was said that the forest remembered every footstep, and sometimes, it answered. In the village, there were stories. Old women with missing teeth told them by firelight, "There's a girl in the forest," they'd whisper, eyes wide, with only one eye and 1,000 ancestors inside her. "She sees your past and your future in one blink." Children would shriek and cover their faces. But others, those more curious, would listen closer. "She walks alone, barefoot on roots. Her hair is knotted with feathers. Her gaze can make animals kneel. She speaks to no one, but they say, the forest listens to her." Some called her a witch, others, a ghost. Few dared to find out. Her name, unspoken for years, was In. No one knew where she came from exactly. A healer had once taken her in, a woman named Mama Ito. But after Mama Ito died mysteriously during a moonless night, In disappeared deeper into the forest, away from judging eyes and sharpened tongues. Now, she lived between trees and riverbeds, wearing wrappers sewn from discarded cloth and beads she carved from fallen seeds. She bathed in the stream and gathered herbs, surviving on wild berries and the roots she knew would not kill her. To some, she was invisible. To others, unforgettable. But to the forest, In was family. That morning, as she knelt by the water's edge, a strange wind blew through the trees. The birds hushed. The leaves rustled like distant voices. And somewhere in the trees, someone was watching her. The morning sun spilled gold over the leaves of Owito, and the forest paused with quiet life. Birds chirped softly, trees creaked like old bones, and the stream murmured over smooth stones as it had for centuries. Prince Agaba moved like a shadow. Clad in a hunter's cloth, bow slung across his back, he followed the faint trail of a wounded antelope. The beast had escaped his arrow, blood speckling the soil like red feathers. His heart pounded, not with excitement for the hunt, but with something deeper, something unnamed. The trail led him farther than he'd ever gone. The trees thickened, light filtered down like whispers. Every step he took into the unknown felt strangely right. And then, he saw her. Kneeling by the stream, washing herbs with slow, precise hands, was a girl. Her wrapper clung down to her body, patched and faded but modest. Her skin glistened, bronze and unashamed. She was barefoot, her anklets made of vine and shell. But it was her face that made him stop breathing. She turned slightly, one eye, just one, sharp, golden brown, and steady as the sun itself. The other side of her face was marked by a smooth scar where an eye had never formed. She did not startle. She did not scream. She simply looked at him. "You're bleeding," she said softly, her voice as clear as river water. He glanced down. His arm had been scraped by a thorn. He hadn't noticed. "I was hunting," he replied, unsure of himself. "I didn't expect to find me," she offered, rinsing a leaf. "No one does. But still, they come." He knelt, humbled by her presence, though she wore no crown. "What's your name?" he asked. "In," she answered, standing. "And yours?" He hesitated. For the first time in his life, he was not sure if being a prince mattered. "Agaba," he said finally, "just Agaba." The eyes met, his filled with questions, hers with something deeper, recognition. The forest watched in silence, and somewhere, the ancestors stirred. From that day on, the forest was no longer just a place of mystery for Prince Agaba, it became a sanctuary. He returned the next evening, and the one after that. He came not with his bow, but with fruits, stories, questions. He never asked for anything, yet she always met him by the stream, as though she, too, had been waiting. She never smiled fully, but when she looked at him, something soft lingered in her eye, a silent welcome. They spoke beneath the moon leaves, broad, glowing foliage that shimmered silver when the night was clear. Agaba told her of palace life, of his tutors and the chiefs, of the constant weight of becoming king. He listened quietly, never interrupting. But when she spoke, her words felt like riddles wrapped in wisdom. I once dreamed I was a tree, she said one night, as they sat near a fire Agaba had clumsily built. Tall, rooted, but always still. Even when I wanted to run, Agaba leaned closer. And now? She turned her head slightly, the moonlight catching the smooth side of her face. Now I am the forest. I still dream, but I move. He didn't fully understand her, but he didn't need to. Her presence soothed him more than any throne ever had. There were moments they sat in silence, the way only two people who trust each other can. No masks, no titles, just breath and heartbeat and stars. Still, questions lingered. Agaba wondered about her past, but he shared little. She spoke of a mother who once sang to the river and of villagers who feared her gaze. But she never asked for pity. And always, before the night grew too dark, she disappeared into the trees. One evening, as he reached for her hand, she pulled back. You must not love me, Agaba, she whispered. Why? Because something ancient watches, and it does not forgive. He wanted to ask more, but she was gone, swallowed by the forest, and the wind that followed whispered a warning. Back at the palace, Prince Agaba's absences had not gone unnoticed. The chiefs began to murmur. Queen Odiu watched her son with growing concern, noticing how he stared off into the distance during council meetings, his answers delayed, his spirit elsewhere. But it was King Ogaba who grew restless. My son wanders too far, he said to his wife one morning. Each dusk, he vanishes like mist, and when he returns, he speaks not of duty, but of dreams. He is searching for something, Queen Odiu replied gently. Perhaps what we could not give him, Ogaba scoffed. A king does not search, he commands. If his heart grows weak before the crown rests on his head, then the kingdom is already lost. The queen said nothing more, but her heart twisted with worry. Among the chiefs, a jealous fire also brewed, most fiercely in Owecho, son of Chief Ame, who had long desired the prince's position and his rumored power. Though no one had seen her in years, tales of the one-eyed girl still slipped through market stalls and palm wine gatherings. And now, whispers said the prince had been seen slipping into Owito at sunset. Owecho began watching, waiting. And then there was the oracle, Old Akum, who spent his days pacing in the temple, his fingers stained with chalk and ash. The vision still burned behind his eyelids, flames, a melting crown, and a girl with one eye standing in its center. The eye has returned, he mumbled, over and over, and the prince walks beside her. At night, the oracle laid kola nuts and bones before the gods. Show me the path, he pleaded. Show me what must be done. And each night, the gods were silent, but the forest whispered louder, and soon, it would speak through fire. The festival of earth, or Otukpo, was approaching, a celebration of soil, harvest, and legacy. It was the most sacred time in the kingdom, when ancestors were honored, drums echoed day and night, and the prince was expected to make a choice, a bride to carry the royal blood forward. Daughters of chiefs prepared with fevered excitement. They wore coral beads from neck to waist, and wrappers dyed in deep indigo and sunlit reds. Their skin gleamed with palm oil, and their ankles rang with bronze bells. Songs of seduction and pride filled the courtyards. But Agaba's heart was far. Every night, he still visited the forest, and every night, he met him. Though she warned him of spirits watching, she could not stop returning either. Her soul was tethered to his. Each time he called her name, something ancient stirred in her bones. She no longer felt alone, no longer cursed. They didn't speak of love, not directly, but when his fingers brushed hers or when she laid her head against his shoulder, the forest grew still. as though even nature listened. But the peace could not last. On the eve of the festival, In had a dream. She stood in a sea of flames, her skin unburned, her eye glowing like a lantern. Around her, the ancestors wept and chanted in tongues she did not understand. Above her, a shadowy figure held a crown made of thorns and fire. She awoke shaking, her breath shallow. They are waking, she whispered to the trees. They remember me now. Still, something in her heart urged her to go to the festival, to see Agaba in the light, among his people, just once. So she disguised herself, borrowing a wrapper Mama Ito once gave her and a thin veil to cover her face. She moved silently among the dancers, her steps guided not by rhythm, but by longing. Agaba saw her. Even among 100 women, he knew her. And for the first time, they danced before all of Otukpo. But not all eyes were kind, and one veil would not stay hidden for long. The festival lights flickered like stars scattered across the earth. Torches blazed in the dark, casting long shadows over the courtyard where people danced, sang, and celebrated the harvest. Drums pounded in perfect rhythm, creating a heartbeat that seemed to echo through the entire kingdom. Prince Agaba stood at the edge of the crowd, his gaze drawn not to the dancers in their brilliant costumes, but to the one figure beneath the moon's soft light. He knew her the moment his eyes found her, a girl, veiled in simple cloth, her movements fluid, almost ethereal, like a spirit called from the depths of the forest. Her presence was unmistakable. In danced beneath the stars, her veil fluttering in the breeze. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as if she was both part of the night and apart from it. She did not belong to the world of chief's daughters, yet she was more regal than any of them. Her one eye, her only eye, gleamed with a strange light, and it locked with Agaba's, as if pulling him into the mystery of the moment. The drums seemed to quiet, the world narrowing to just the two of them. But the kingdom's eyes did not look kindly on her. Among the guests, whispers began to spread like wildfire. Eyes narrowed, fingers pointed, and in the distance, a jealous heart began to stir. Owoicho, son of Chief Ame, stood near the king, his lips curling into a smile that did not reach his eyes. His gaze followed Agaba's every move, and as the prince's eyes never strayed from the girl in the veil, a plan began to form in Owoicho's heart. When the veil slipped from In's head, revealing her face to all of Otukpo, a collective gasp filled the air. Her one eye gleamed in the torchlight, and the shock of her appearance rippled through the crowd like a thunderclap. Which cursed, someone shouted from the crowd, and the accusations began. Owoicho's voice rose above the rest. A curse walks among us. Does our prince not see? This is the spirit of death. The whispers grew louder, until they drowned out the music. Agaba's heart thudded in his chest as he fought to break free of the tangled emotions coursing through him. The girl he had come to care for, his mystery, his peace, was now cast as an outcast, a danger to the kingdom. You are wrong, Agaba said, stepping forward, his voice ringing with authority. She is not cursed. She is the spirit of the land, of the people. But the shouts only grew. The crowd surged forward, guards moving to take her. In that moment, as they reached for her, the ground seemed to tremble. Inzai fled with power, the color shifting, as though the very earth had responded to her distress. For the first time, Agaba saw it, a glow of light that emanated from her, as though she were more than human, more than just a girl. But before he could act, guards seized her, dragging her away, her feet kicking against the ground, her face unreadable. Stop! Agaba cried, rushing to her side. But the guards were too quick. They bound her wrist and began dragging her through the village square, the people screaming, calling for her death. Her gaze never wavered, her eye never blinked. As she passed Agaba, she whispered softly, "They are waking. They know you." The weight of her words struck him like a blow to the chest. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, the ancestor stirred. In was thrown into the village square, her body sprawled against the dust and stone. The crowd jeered, their voices rising like a storm. Children pointed, and old men muttered, their words laced with fear. "Death to the witch! Death to the spirit," they cried. Agaba stood frozen at the edge of the crowd, his breath shallow and ragged. He wanted to rush to her side, to protect her, but the sight of the guards surrounding her, their spears gleaming in the torchlight, kept him at bay. The girl he had come to love was being dragged through the mud, and there was nothing he could do. His eye flickered with a strange, cold fire as she was dragged before the king. King Agaba's face was twisted with disgust, his hands clenched in anger. Beside him, Queen Odiu's face was a mask of sorrow, though she said nothing. "My prince," King Agaba said, his voice sharp like a whip, "what madness has overtaken you? This girl, this spirit, is no bride for a king's son. She is cursed, and her presence threatens the kingdom." Agaba swallowed hard, but his heart burned with defiance. "She is not cursed. She is more than any of us could ever understand." The king's eyes narrowed. "Enough, Agaba. This girl brings only danger. She will be punished for the harm she has caused." "No," Agaba shouted, stepping forward. "She is not the enemy. The real enemy is fear, the fear that blinds us from the truth." The crowd hushed, sensing the tension in the air. In's calm voice cut through the silence. "I am not here to harm anyone, but the spirits, the ancestors, they are waking.